Welcome into Runners Recap, episode 3 for our second season. I'm
Yes.
always joined by CSUB's head coach of the men's basketball team, Rod Barnes. Coach Barnes, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
You're doing great.
I am.
5 games into the season so far, 2-3 on the year. How are you feeling about the progression of the team with these 5 games so far?
Well, because we have so many new players, I knew it would take time. Obviously, you would like to win more games than we won. We'd like to be 5-0 at this point, but I knew it would take some time. I really like the effort that our guys are displaying. We're having some X's and O breakdowns just because we have so many new players playing. I told our coaches today, we lost 3 of our top scorers from last year. We lost our leading rebounder. We got a very inexperienced and a very new team, and we're going to have to use some patience, but also we're pressing our guys really hard right now because we know that the sooner we can all get on the same page and correct some of the errors that we're making, we have a talented enough team to have a good year.
And what is the biggest challenge? Because obviously for many people who may have known, just recruiting-wise, you guys did bring in a lot of talent. You brought in that size, you brought in more athleticism. But what's the biggest challenge of making sure that these guys all gel together with the 6 former players?
Well, it's tough because even with some of the former players, they didn't play that much. You know, Darren Person, who plays for us now as a backup forward, didn't play that much last year. And also Buck, who we consider him as 6 of the returning players, DeMonte Buckingham. We can turn him as a returner, but really it's his first time being on the court with our guys. So, you know, we've got a lot of guys that have been around. I mean, 6 guys that have been around the program, but they haven't played. And then we're playing a lot of our new guys, which just the confidence, the trust, and they believe in each other, but just having it on the court, knowing that if I make this pass, what's going to happen, or if I understand this guy movement. You know, one of the biggest areas I think we're having problems, I would say, or issues with is just defensive rotation. And that's just understanding where I'm supposed to be, who's going to be the next guy in the rotation, but also just our assist to turnover ratio. We don't have a lot of assists. It's because a lot of guys trying to figure out, is he coming my way, is he going the other way, is he going to pull up, is he going to shoot it? And all of that will work out. The thing that I love about the team is they really love each other. They're really bought into what we're doing. There's a lot of, hey, we got to get better. You know, so that for as a coach this early in the season, you know, as I talk to many of my friends and coaches, everyone's having problems right now as far as trying to figure out their identity and their way and rotations and things like that. So hopefully, you know, we've figured out some things from the last game, and hopefully as we go into the next game, we'll get a little bit better.
And that word identity is a coach term used across the world, across sports in general. But when you say that, what's the hope for you about identity? What are you talking about? How do you break that down? How does Coach Barnes break that down to make it, I guess, relevant to people who may not be familiar with that?
Well, as a team, you know, when you look at a team, there's teams that when you talk about identity, I think, you know, we just played San Francisco. They're a 3-point shooting team. That's their identity. They're going to live and die with the 3. They're an up-tempo team, so they're going to play fast. So you kind of know what you're getting. You know each guy, each player, of what they're trying to do. And what I mean by our identity, we've got a kind of big team. We could go with a bigger lineup, but we also can go play a little bit faster. And right now, we're still trying to figure that out. You know, defensively, we're having a great first half. So you could, if you look at the first half, you'll say they're a great defensive team. If you look at the second half, you'll say, well, they're not so good a defensive team. Well, if our identity is going to be defense, which that's our program, then that's who we have to be. That's also with individual players, like who's our scorer. So when you have a team that you know, even you would be at the game, and you say, hey, they're probably going to get the gap ball to this guy. Last year, we grew an identity late that Jarkel Joyner was our go-to guy. Everybody knew it was probably going to happen. He's going to get a chance to go one-on-one, or he's going to take the next shot. You could pretty much say that. So you kind of knew who we were. Right now, we're still trying to figure that out. We've got several guys, Cam Allen, DeMonte Buckingham, Taze Moore is our leading scorer now. We haven't have an identity to, like, who we're going to go to, or what's this guy here? And our guys are working through that. You know, Sean Stiff is probably our inside guy that we can go to. And as those roles not only be defined, but those guys come into who they are. I oftentimes tell our players when you talked about identity, I start telling them, who are we as a team and who are you as an individual? And when we can answer those questions, then we'll know who we are. And we're still working through that. And that's one thing that we do. Our guys play hard. That's our identity of ours. But we've got to get some things as far as strategy. Are we more of a sell-in, really defensive-minded, gritted-out kind of team? Or we're a team that'll play defense, but our MO is offensive rebounding or whatever the case may be. Right now, we don't have anything yet that we've identified, them knowing and we knowing that this is who we are. And that's the struggle. I mean, that's where each and every day, every practice, every time we have a meeting with them, we're talking about what do we want to be. And sometimes they take it upon themselves where they go, and that's what we're asking them to do right now.
Well, and I know before the season started, one thing you're mentioning, so last year was a little bit, it wasn't the culture of the team to be a one-man identity team with Jarkel, but kind of worked out that way. But this year, the guys were looking forward to it, kind of spreading the love. That was the fact that, one, it's harder for opponents because they can't key in on one guy, but I know that does take time to figure that out. So I know that the team is trying to figure out that chemistry. Obviously, it's always going to be a work in progress, but to dive deep a little bit, so you had 2 losses, well, 1 win sandwiched between 2 losses. A heartbreaker at home that was close, and then a tough 30-point loss to San Francisco on the road. So in those 2 situations, 2 losses on complete ends of the spectrum. What did you learn from your team in those?
Well, the first game, I saw that our team, that they wanted to win. We made plays after plays. We had an opportunity there with 2 minutes to go to maybe put the game away. We didn't. And they ended up, we got the game into overtime, and they ended up winning the game. We started to kind of find out some things. We saw that Sean Stiff is a guy that we could throw the ball into the post. We also found out a little bit more combination when we need defensive stops. We kind of figured that out. A little bit different in San Francisco, totally different team, play a lot faster. We didn't show the maturity we need on the road. We didn't control the tempo, and that's something that you have to do. They came right out from the beginning. That kind of hit us in the mouth. It was like an 8-0 run before we could even figure out what was going on. But again, that's things that you kind of find out a little bit about your team, and you try to grow from that. We've got to really work on, as far as the last game against San Francisco, when we get behind on the road, how we get back. How we learn how to win being on the road with this particular team. Again, when you got new guys, and there's not excuses, I'm just trying to explain how when you're developing and growing a team, what kind of happens. It was one thing that you said, like last year we had gotten to the point where we knew we could go to Jarkel. Well, now I think our guys sometimes are wondering, okay, Taze, are you gonna do it? Or DeMonte, you're gonna do it? Or Sean, you're going to do it, because all of those guys can score. Cam, are you going to do it? And until we kind of figure out a little bit and keep working with each other, figure out, okay, it's your turn, now it's my turn, and just get a balance there. And right now we have a balance in scoring, but guys are starting and stopping at different times, and they have to get comfortable with that. Like, hey, we got an advantage. Taze is a guy, he goes on a roll, and that's what I think, being a deeper team, it's going to help us later on, because we'll be harder to defend and harder to guard. As we went into their game, I think they had 4 guys, maybe 5 guys at double figures. So you're trying to figure out who to key on. And hopefully as we go forward, that's what people are saying about us.
And for you as a coach, what is, I guess, either more challenging or what comes a little easier? A team where you can rely on someone like Jarkel Joyner, or do you like having the benefit of any night, any guy can have their moment, and especially that too, it poses more of a challenge for opponents because then they can't key in on one guy. What do you prefer as a coach?
I prefer the balance. I mean, just because it gives you options. You don't have to go to the same thing. There were times last year, and it's been sometimes before, that people knew what was coming, and you, as a coach, you got to figure out how to make it work. I think the thing is that with this team, we just got to get to a place where we know whose time it is.
Right.
And again, that takes a little time to work through, but I would much rather have several guys that we can go to, which I think we have that this year, than say one guy kind of carrying a load. I think what we've got to develop in this team is, like, when at the close of the game, who are the guys that we need to go through? Throughout the game, for the first 35 minutes, hey, hopefully all 5 guys that are out there are playing well, scoring, doing their part. But then when the last 4 or 5 minutes, like, where do we go? And again, we're developing that and figuring that out. Even with me, I mean, we were in the game against South Dakota State, and I'm thinking, what do we run? Do we run it for Cam, who's been out? Do we run it for Taze, who's playing good? Do we run it for Buckingham because where the shots are coming from is probably best for him? Or do we try to go back inside to Sean? So as a coach, you're still trying to work through that. But really, as these games go forward, as a coach, it's probably, as weird as it might seem, it's probably the most exciting and a fun time for the coach trying to figure it out.
That's what I would think. I love the glimpse you give us, because we're always wondering, really it's tough. And it's not just you out there. You have assistants alongside you making decisions, but it's a lot that goes into it. Right. People always love to say, hey, that's the wrong call, but until you're in coach's shoes, it's kind of tough when you have all those different moving parts. And one thing, Coach, talk about something a little bit tough, but it is what it is. You guys still seem to be struggling a little bit from behind the arc. That's something that you're developing, is knocking down the triples. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And I noticed that San Francisco is a team that hits the threes. Right. So when you're playing a team like that and they're heating that from behind the arc, the score keeps jumping. Right. How do you counter that when the shots are not falling for you guys from behind the arc?
Well, one of the things, you go into the game and it's just that's their style. So normally with the team that shoot a lot of threes, they make runs. Like, they kind of get hot and they make runs, and then all of a sudden, they don't make them, and you get a chance to work your way in or get ahead. It's easier for a team that's like that when they're going on runs, to shoot the ball better. They shot the ball unbelievable. I told people that have asked me about it, I mean, to go 19 for 24 from the 3, you can't hardly do that with someone not even there as a team. So they had a great night, and they're going to win games with that, but they also be nice that they're struggling. They got to figure out a win. For a team like us, again, that's where you're on the road and they get off to a good start, then you got to control the possessions. And we didn't control the possessions. What I mean about that, we've got to make them spend a lot of time and a lot of energy on the defensive end, defending us, so that it's wearing on them as the game go on as far as their shots. When they're shooting it like that, there's nothing you can do but just, hopefully they stop shooting. But again, we allow that to happen. It's like with us, if we come in and early on, we're a defensive-minded team. If we turn you over early, if we pressure you early and it causes problems for you, if you don't get your offense in a rhythm, and that's what we're trying to do, break their rhythm, then it's a long night for them. And it's a great night for us, because we're a team that's really, really good in transition. I think, we played education a day game. We shot the 3 well. We shot it decently in San Francisco. We just didn't take that many. And again, I think some of that has to do with just how to create shots to get another guy open. When do we go inside and outside? And our guys are starting to figure that out. I told our coaches, which were in our meetings, we talk about when you get to where you're sure, when you're sure something's going to happen, you have more confidence. When I know I'm going to get the ball, when I know this play works for me, until you figure that out, you're kind of indecisive, which causes you to kind of struggle. What's a good shot? What's a bad shot? Is it coming to me? Is it not? And that's why we practice every day. And again, that's probably the fun part for me is in this, and I knew it was going to happen. Hopefully, again, you can win and they have these problems. Yeah. We could be talking here today, and we could easily be 3-2 and saying we're having a winning record. Absolutely. Just on one play. But regardless of that, we still had the issue that we have to deal with. And again, it's fun, especially when you have players and coaches that are working together, because you can see it'll be different. you can see light at the end of the tunnel.
I know you say it's fun, but it's probably a little tiring too as a coach, right?
It is. It's tiring because you're up and you're thinking, as I told our guys the other night, we got back from San Francisco at 2:30 and I didn't sleep. I stayed up the rest of the day. So, but that's okay. That's part of it. Because
I
love it. Yeah. And again, when the kids are really interested, and you're trying to teach them and they want to learn, that's what makes it fun. It's not very much fun when you're wanting to do this and your players. And that's why I'm excited about this team, because we got a good group of guys. We're going to be good. It's going to take us a little time. I would like to be a little bit further than where we are ahead, but as the year goes on, people will start seeing the development of this team. Last year, at the beginning of the year, we had the situation with, again, Jarkill, and we keep bringing up an old player because he was our leading scorer, but I kept saying, man, he's a big-time scorer. And people kept saying, well, he got 12 points tonight, Coach. And I'm like, I'm telling you, he can really score. Just wait. Because he's got to figure it out. Absolutely. We've got to figure it out. And when you find that comfort, that's when you see. Devontae Buckingham is still trying to figure out when do I go, when I take over, where do I get my shot from, how do I fit in all of what we're doing. And once he figured that out, then you'll see the player that we've talked about. And
what makes this even tougher when you're developing all of this is to throw a opponent in there like Gonzaga, and you guys are going to be headed out to Gonzaga, who's currently number 7, number 8 in standings. Yeah. So that always a tough team. You guys faced them last year, but this is a big challenge for this team. So what do you hope to see? And obviously just being honest about expectations for your team facing that kind of talent.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, you always go in with the win. I mean, we're hoping that we get there. And as a coach, you're taking wins as playing well.
Right.
Regardless of what happens, you talk about winning. The process right now is playing well. If we can go up there and we win, it'll be great. For us, it'll be great for our program. It'll be great for the university. All of those things will be great. But if we don't get better, then that's a different story. We'll have a problem later on. The goal always this early is to go in and get better. Hopefully, we'll do better at Gonzaga than we did at San Francisco as far as controlling the game. And because we didn't do that. Our inexperience showed that we didn't. As soon as they got a lead, we took a couple shots. We got out what we're trying to do defensively, and the lead kept growing. Hopefully that doesn't happen in this particular game. The opportunity for us at this point, I like it because it's a challenge. Just going to games that we're playing now kind of as the underdog, it keeps your team ready. It's different if we were going to play someone and they were not very good and you're trying to get a team up and ready. Like, our guys will be prepared. They'll be ready to go, and we'll find out something about this particular team, which is new. A ranked team, a lot of new guys, new faces, and we'll see if they're prepared to handle them.
Yeah, and as always, big learning lesson. You guys will get some takeaways from this, depending on what happens. But with that, Coach, we're coming up on time, so we got to put you in the fast break lane. We're going to give you some quick questions. Hopefully you have some quick answers for us. My first one's tough. It's gonna put you a little bit on the spot. But
sure.
We're talking about upsets there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite upset that you've ever been a part of as a coach or a player?
Kentucky at Kentucky. I'm not good with dates and times and years.
That's okay. That was quick though.
I think it was 1997 or something. We had not beat Kentucky in like 50-some years on their home court, and it was a huge upset.
Wow, that was really cool. I'm proud of you. That was like right there. It's like you're waiting for that question. All right, Coach. So talking about, a lot of learning lessons with this team, if you could just point out one quick thing, what's the one thing from this point of the season that you want to see be a quick change for this team, an improvement?
Wow, that's tough.
I know.
Because we have a list of about 4 things. I would say probably defensive intensity for 40 minutes.
Defensive intensity. All right. We know the runners. We know Coach Barnes. He's a defensive-minded guy. And Coach, for you, what's the key to, this has been a stat that has always mattered to you and has been big for the runners. What's the key to rebounding?
Going. I mean, the thing is, it's the desire to want to get the basketball. I mean, really, there's great things and techniques and block out, but every great rebounding team and every great team person that rebound, they want to go. They pursue the basketball. It's something that as a team, which we keep harping on our guys. We think we're athletic, big enough and strong enough to really rebound the ball. And we've rebounded most of the teams we played against this year, but we think we're better than that. And it's just a habit of going, just attacking the ball.
Yeah, okay. And we're getting close to Thanksgiving, which always brings up our gratefulness.
Yes.
What's the thing that you are most grateful for about the game of basketball?
Oh, the life lessons that it's taught me. I mean, it's still happening today. I'm still, each and every day, I feel like I'm one of the most blessed people in all of the world because I get a chance to do what I love to do, and I get a chance to see results from those hard days of work, some today and some later. But just the life lessons it's taught me and what it teaches our players.
All right, I love that, and we are grateful for coaches like you in this
Yes.
world. And Coach, with that, for the fifth question, throw it my way.
Okay, for the
Alley-oop
fifth
me.
question. This is going to be an easy one. Thanksgiving or Christmas?
Ooh, easy. That's not easy.
That's easy.
I will say, so of course, there's a feeling about Christmas that I absolutely love, but I love that word that I just said, grateful. That's a huge like impact in my life, and that's all about Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so that thankfulness and the fact of just bringing family together, and we always, in my family in particular, we always share the moments of saying what we're grateful for, and we don't do that often enough in this world, so I feel like I really appreciate that, and I've always kind of just loved that vibe and energy around Thanksgiving. But to be really diplomatic, both holidays are great. We love all of holidays, all of them.
Well, I could tell you this. I thought you would say that. Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I did.
I know, and I love the food. Let's be
Yes.
real. The food is good, and we're looking forward to that the following week. But Coach, we'll give you a break next
Yes,
week, and we'll
thank
catch up with you after all of this. But wish you guys
Great.
the best of luck on the road, and we'll see you guys next time. And as always, thanks for joining us for Runner's Recap. See you later.